Hey guys, welcome back to the MLS update with me, Mike Rice, and match day one is in the books. A pretty exciting start to the MLS season. We're going to wrap up the weekend's action, and today with me I've got Alex and Victor. Victor, how are you doing?
Good, Michael, Alex. Great to be with you here, and obviously great to finally start the MLS season.
Exactly. How did you enjoy following the coverage with this new Apple TV deal to cover all of the striker.com sites?
Yeah. I caught it at home. Houston was on the road, and I caught this one at home. But it was good because I got to see some of the games around the league, some of the coverage. At least here inside the United States. I mean, I think it's great. Have all the games kind of condensed in one place. Obviously, a little couple bugs there here and there, but I think it's a good start. Very good start.
Yeah, no, it was really good to be able to sort of flick between games and still trying to work out how best to manage the like the games that are on at that moment and which ones I want to follow. Alex, how did you find it getting used to everything?
Yeah, it was well, Miami was playing at home, but the games that I was able to catch, yeah, it looked great, and I love the quality. I love how everything is um just easily accessible.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are in previous coverages, it'll be on one channel on the other, and sometimes it's nice to have everything in one space. So that's a big plus. And the wraparound shows and the
Mm.
whip around shows and the MLS 360, those are great. So two thumbs up for me.
Yeah, no, it's been great to go back over like where some of the West Coast games at the moment are quite tough for the evening games to watch right now. So it's good to be able to go back and either watch the full game and or just the highlights and grab bits. So that's been great. So let's dive into those games that we started with. And Alex, let's start with you covering into Miami. You were there at the stadium, a 2-0 win. Tell us about it. How was the experience and the atmosphere?
Yeah, the atmosphere was great. Drive Pink was sold out. The fans were great. Everyone was anticipating Joseph and his debut, and he didn't, he played only around 60 minutes, but he
Mm.
did have a bit of an impact. Yeah, Miami played well. Neville spoke about wanting to play a more possession-based style and with two strikers up top.
Mm.
Unfortunately, Leonardo Campana was out, so he had to go with Joseph as a lone striker, but it still worked out in the end. Obviously not the goal scorers that everyone expected it with Sergei Kristoff, a new signing. Yeah, and Schneider Borgelin, a homegrown signing, but still Miami stuck with their principles. They played well. They played with composure, and it was really intriguing to see compared to last season where they would defer to maybe Alejandro Pozuelo and Gonzalo Higuain a lot. This season they play much more as a team, and kind of it's a bit more balanced on both sides now.
Yeah, we spoke before the season kicked off how it was a strange one for you guys in a way because it isn't a rebuild into Miami for the first time in MLS, really. So they've got their system, the back four playing through. Pizarro's back and he's playing. How was his performance in the game?
Yeah, he did really well actually. He looks motivated, fit. I think when Gonzalo Higuain was here, I don't think they didn't really get along. So him
Mm,
and Rodolfo have different personalities. So yeah, they just didn't get along. But seeing him now with no Gonzalo, he plays much more free. The team, they trust him. The players like him. Um, yeah, he was, basically playing with freedom and joy, which Phil Neville, we spoke after the game, Pizarro's playing with some joy again. So
yeah.
I think that's how you get the best out of him. And Montreal did have their chances, yes, which
Mm,
we'll touch on later. But
yeah.
yeah, they did. Drake Callender was huge for Miami. It came up with six really big saves, really. And yeah, but Miami was able to keep the clean sheet, and it was a good game from both sides.
Yeah, how did you find the Montreal system coming? Like the team went through this huge change. Obviously, Wilfred Nance left, and Hernan Losada's now in charge. A number of players have gone, but they have managed to bring back the likes of Victor Wanyama, like Joel Waterman's there, Kamal Miller, and so there's not the crazy like brand new 11 that we were starting to expect towards the beginning of the year. How did they come at into Miami, and how did they try to break them down?
Yeah, so Miami, they play more possession based, and with Montreal, they tried to kind of like play in transition, maybe.
Mm,
Romuald Kyoto was still there, playing off the shoulder of Kristoff and trying to get him behind, and he nearly did a couple of times. Miami, they looked a little weak in transition defensive moments. So I will say Montreal did a really good job at stretching Miami's back line, getting in behind Franco Negri, who is an overlapping attacking fullback. He left space in behind Kyoto.
mm.
would get in there. You know, obviously Lassie Lapalainen was still there. Brown Gillard was still there. Wanyama, that midfield was certainly very tough. I think I remember when Bryce Duke came on in the second half, he was just going at Wanyama, but he's just bouncing off him like a brick. Like, yeah, Wanyama is such a physically strong and technically great player, so that was difficult to break down. But yeah, Montreal had their chances, and if it wasn't for Jake Callender, Miami probably would have lost or drawn that game. So Montreal, they have stuff to build on, but I do think they're kind of lacking that, you know, that impact player that they can kind of defer to. They only have one DP right now, which is Wanyama.
Yeah.
So with Hernan Losada, I like him as a coach. So hopefully they can get him some weapons so Montreal can continue that ascent and maybe get back to the top of the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, they bring through a lot of young players, young Canadian players who've got sort of CPL experience, things like that. And yeah, they don't seem to be too keen on adding an extra DP, it seems, but it would help them, you'd imagine. But I guess lastly, to sort of really to like focus on, I mean, Joseph Martinez taking the headlines to start with, but Kristoff, I'm sure we'll get his name right after a few weeks' time. But a huge game for him. He got the goal. He's brought his family over from Ukraine out of a war zone into Miami. I've read that he's organized tickets for a lot of Ukrainian families in Miami to come to the game, and to get that goal to open the scoring and to come away with a clean sheet as must have been an incredible experience for him in front of fans for the first time in quite a while.
Yeah, it was a goosebump inducing, really. Like he mentioned in the post match conference, he couldn't play, you know, with Shakhtar Donetsk. He didn't play with fans for a very long time, so he really just missed playing in front of a crowd. And you know, it showed in his celebration. You know, Krzysztof, he's Ukrainian, but you know, all the guys came up to him and he was screaming "Vamos!" like he's getting into Miami. Yeah, he was getting into Miami culture very quickly. So yeah, he's a pleasure to talk to and the guys speak about his composure and experience, and very likable guy around the locker room. So it was just a really, you know, great moment, and it was on the 1 year anniversary of the war too. So it was a very special moment for him.
Yeah, it'd be exciting to see how he gets on for this year, especially as like the replacement for Damien Lowe moving on a starting centre back and to replace. But yeah, a great start for Inter Miami then to kick the season off. And Victor, let's chat about your Houston Dynamo. We spoke a couple of months ago, I think now, with the whole rebuild going, Ben Olsen, the era in Houston, and you had the tough task of going to Cincinnati in the first game of the season, a side who are really fancied, who've only strengthened their team and put in an impressive performance from a neutral looking.
Yeah, I think we mentioned the stadium construction down here in Houston, so that makes the Dynamo go on the road for 2 games. Not something they're used to. Most years they're hosting at home. So you know, but Olsen kind of mentioned throughout the week that, you know, because both teams weren't well oiled, you're coming out of preseason. This might be a chance if they had done some things right. He mentioned set pieces, you know, to maybe come away with a surprise there, right? And, you know, in the first 20 minutes, Houston kind of looked a little bit disorganized. Maybe it's just first game with a new coach. And that's where the first goal comes in, 19 minutes with Sergio Santos from Cincinnati. Near capacity crowds, obviously their opening game. Actually, I spoke to the guys from Cincinnati. So this was the first game in week 1 for FC Cincinnati. So obviously big occasion there as well.
Yeah.
And then obviously the focus being on Lucho Acosta, on Brandon Vasquez. Brenner was on the bench, but he saw the field later on a little bit. Houston, again, once they kind of caught their footing a little bit, had a little bit of chances right before halftime. Hector Herrera, you know, great corner kick, goes right to a player who was trialing in the preseason, Tate Schmidt. He scored off the corner kick. You go into the halftime tied. And then, you know, they didn't come out and maybe defend as much as Olsen would have liked. He mentioned this in the post-match press conference. 3 minutes into the second half, that's when Cincinnati, you know, scores. And that's that was basically the story of the game. After Houston had some good chances, I think, near the end, it didn't have the players to sort of get the result. And I think, you know, the stats lie a little bit because the shots favor Houston, you shots on goal favor Houston, but Cincinnati really did have the better opportunities late in the first half. Brandon Vasquez had one that I think if he was had a little bit more game rhythm, maybe would have put it away, those kinds of things. But I think it's first good outing for Houston. There's many ways to take it for Cincinnati as well, right? Either glass half full, glass half empty, because it's week one. There's positives you can take away from it. I think there's some stuff, particularly with Houston, that maybe you need to start worrying about, or just watch out for, right, as the season sort of progresses. But certainly kind of the expected result, and I think Houston maybe surprised a little bit, but ultimately, 3 points by Cincinnati.
Yeah, and Houston they've gone into the season sort of at the lower end of expectations in MLS.
Right.
Quite a big turnover, and it looks like a long-term sort of plan to sort of build the club up again. And do you see from the performance that they've gone out that they're playing with as a side who, okay, the pressure's kind of off us, but let's go and surprise some teams? Or does it still look like a side who's under a lot of work?
A little bit of both. I think it certainly is. Maybe they might not admit it, but I think it is kind of a rebuilding year when you see the options on the bench.
Yeah.
All 4 substitutions were under the age of 23. I think the most experienced player was Griffin Dorsey with 3,000 MLS minutes throughout his career. So there's not really a game changer, right? I mean, even a veteran player that you can bring off the bench and say, hey, help us close out this game, even if you just give us 30 good minutes. And I think that's kind of what Houston's missing overall. Amin Bassi, one of the key offseason signing, or one of if you want to, because they also got Ivan Franco, but I think Bassi is a little bit further along in his career. Yeah. He was out injured for this game. Would he have made a difference? I think that's the big question mark. But I do certainly think the biggest need for Houston, even though some fans might look at Ethan Bardlow at center back, and maybe he was a little bit rusty, making mistakes. He's still a young kid. But I think for me, they did enough. If they had somebody to just pull it all together offensively, they could have won this game even. Sebastian Ferreira, we talked about last season, not enough chances inside the box, 2 touches in this game inside the box. That's not good enough. They got to, those are the things they got to get better at.
Yeah, we spoke about that before, didn't we? How they're quite a defensive midfield. There isn't that player that's connecting the forward line and the midfield and creating these opportunities. Is that where we sort of saw so many times running into dead ends, where you're approaching that final third? But I mean, I guess Houston are relying on Hector Herrera to find that pass in that final third to open up something, because some of the others
to be the connector. But I think you look at the other team, Cincinnati, with Acosta. I mean, that's the kind of guy that I think in today's MLS you have to have on your roster. You look around the league, the successful teams sort of have that kind of number 10 presence, and Houston just doesn't have that.
No. Is there sort of alarm bells then for Houston at the moment? Is there big concern over where this season's going to start going after this first game, or are we reacting too quickly?
People might say I'm reacting too quickly, right? But I feel like it is a little bit of alarms. I think it's stuff you have to address, because if you want to turn this around this season, right? And I think there's fans that have sort of bought into now the thought that, well, this is going to be a longer rebuild than maybe we would have hoped. But I think there's certain things that if you address them correctly, you could turn this around. Look at Cincinnati, for example, last year, right? Pat Noonan was in his first year. They became a playoff team. And this year they're expected to, or they were, talked about being maybe one of the big sides that improved, right? I think the MLS had them in their preseason power rankings at number 4. Just to kind of give you an idea, I know that's not gospel, right? But just to kind of give you an idea of how the expectations raised. And I think that's kind of, for Houston, if they truly want to change it, I mean, I think we've seen enough cases in MLS where teams can change it around.
Yeah, I guess with those young players you're saying coming on, like the subs on the bench are all under 23, and I guess that sort of highlights the fact that we need this year to get these players some minutes, get these younger players minutes, and get them adapted to the league, so that maybe in 2024 we're looking to then progress again, and we're building something. We're not only looking 12 months ahead, I guess is
right.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting season for them. And Ben Olsen's known for having a team working hard and putting in. Did you see a committed side out there to a plan, or was it? Could you see something that was sort of evolving as a system there?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing they got better at is set pieces, it might seem like a little thing, but they were just really bad at them last year. I
Mm.
think they weren't getting enough chances, because that could be the great equalizer, right? When you're going up against a better team, those could be opportunities where you score. Houston wasn't taking advantage of them in previous years, to be honest, not just last year. And I think in this game alone, obviously the one goal comes from the corner kick. They had some good opportunities there. They actually didn't concede a corner to Cincinnati, if you can believe that. And then for Herrera, he had a good opportunity off a free kick where he timed himself to scoring. That's where he sort of gives them a better edge too. So that's an area that they've improved, and if they can, kind of ironically going back to the Dynamo of old, that's what those teams were known for, and if they can get better at that stuff and start converting some goals there, that's going to help them a lot this season. But in the creation department, I still think that there is some worry there.
Yeah, a lot to work on, and let's move along back over to the Eastern Conference matchup with DC United and Toronto FC. There
Awesome former team.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And interestingly, there wasn't a single draw before we go into this. There was no draws in MLS.
Right.
And plenty of teams left it into those sort of dying moments to sort of win the matches. And this is one of them with Cudi Pietro coming on, another young player who a lot of young players seem to really make an impact this weekend and really got a good opportunity to go. And DC United seem to have this lads and dads team. They're either in their mid-30s or they're under 18 and coming into affect games. And it was quite an exciting way for DC United to really continue going. And the fact that they're continuing to push into the 99th minute after being the worst team in MLS last season. Alex, from an Eastern Conference perspective, we weren't expecting too much from DC United going in. There's so many questions. We've got a 16-year-old at centre back, or these young players coming in, but impressive how they continued throughout this match.
Yeah, and I was at the Miami game, but I was watching the score from my phone. I was like, Toronto scored, and then DC came back, and then Toronto answered, and then DC scored 2 in like the 90th and 98th minute, and yeah, it was just a crazy game. And I think that's what happens when you play the younger players. They get a chance, and they just go. I will say Matthias Klick, his goal was absolutely phenomenal. He looks to be a class player for them, and Rooney just play the kids, honestly, and you never know what's going to happen. I think DC, I think they'll be improved under Rooney this season. This game, proves that they can definitely fight back and get a win. Like you said, 16-year-old starting at center back, and it's just crazy game. Toronto, a little disappointed with them. I thought they'd be a little bit better with Bernadeschi and Insigne. Insigne went out with an injury, non-contact too, and I don't know what's going on with them, but they have too much talent to be in, no disrespect to DC, but obviously I think everyone would have picked Toronto to win this game. So lots of work for Bob Bradley to do, but let's see how that goes up there. But I know Toronto will be difficult later in the season as soon as they start to gel. But DC, very very impressed with this win for them.
Yeah, I mean, Benteke was a force at the to deal with at the back there, and Toronto have gone out and they've spent money and they've brought in experienced players. Sean Johnson's come in, Matt Hedges at the back, and like Victor, from a Houston perspective as well, you could maybe empathize in a way with the fact that they just don't have the depth. They have this fantastic starting 11, which they've gone and spent the money in Toronto, but Insigne gets injured. And all of a sudden, I mean, he's a very an incredibly talented player, and you're not going to bring in a TAM player to
replace him. You're paying him a lot of money.
Exactly. Yeah. But now we look at them, and if Insigne's not there, who comes in and fills that? If one of their players goes down in the middle of the park, who replaces them? And they don't seem to be particularly well built as a roster. But the 11 they've brought is an 11 that's going to expect to be competing. So how are they going to manage this?
And then they have some good names, like you mentioned. I mean, Bernadeschi, right? He scored off a penalty kick, but they got Marc-Anthony Kaye, and Bradley's still an experienced figure, like you said. Maybe it's just time to gel with new figures, right? With Matt Hedges at the back and Sean Johnson. But I think, I mean, that's kind of why you went out and got Bob Bradley too. I mean, I think there has to be some focus on spotlight on the coach, and I think in that sense, credit to Wayne Rooney's side as well, because there were a few sides that lost at home in this opening weekend, which I thought was sort of a surprise.
Yeah.
For DC to kind of battle to the end there, make sure they got the full 3 points. I mean, to me, that's huge. That's getting starting off on the right foot, right? Getting those points that you shouldn't be giving up points at home. They're a little bit maybe starting fresh, right? Benteke with a full preseason ahead of him. I thought there were some good contributors there as well. I'm sure I'm going to butcher his name, but Yati, right?
Jay-Z,
yeah. He was providing the assist. I think they were hoping to create at the end. So I think, this is promising. I think it's such an uplifting result, right? To start the season, especially at home with the full 3 points, gives you something to build on, as opposed to kind of, digging yourself into a hole early. So I think, spotlight here on the coaches. I think credit to Wayne Rooney, and I think that there's got to be a little bit more pressure on Bob Bradley as well to make this Toronto side work. That was a huge disappointment last year with the way they ended, even with the guys they have. I think that's kind of where you got to point to as well.
Yeah, I think this injury to Insigne is a huge issue, just from the fact non-contact issue. He looked,
oh, no doubt,
he looked terrible after it, and sort of his body language, and a player with experience, you know when an injury is bad, and if he's going to be out for a considerable period, Toronto are in a difficult position in the East, where they're looking to get over a bad year. They've moved on a number of players, a number of young players. Jaden Nelson's been sold, who would have been an ideal replacement, I guess. But we'll have to see. But on the other side, Wayne Rooney's been through sort of this rebuild with Derby back when he was in the Championship. No money, relying on some veterans and young players, and he can build a team and he can build some confidence. And it'll be interesting to see what he can get out of this DC United side as we go through.
And as we mentioned, Toronto had the lead, right? Going 98 minutes going in, Toronto had that lead.
Yeah. So I guess one of those. Can they, we're going to have to keep an eye on these next few weeks to see how Toronto do. They're not, I think they only made 2 subs in this game because they don't have that. Can they continually compete across the Canadian Championships, the MLS, going into Leagues Cup? How are they going to start fading towards the end of games as the season goes on if they're not being able to make these changes? But I think both will be very interesting to watch. And you mentioned that, Victor, number of sides lost at home this weekend. Let's go back to Texas and chat about Austin FC, a surprise defeat to St. Louis, 3-2. Another one late in the game. Klaus, the new DP, getting a very well taken a goal. I guess the biggest talking points are the sort of Kip Keller and Stroud miscommunication.
When Kip Keller was sort of involved in all 3 goals for St. Louis, right? But I think I think overall it's just Austin overlooked St. Louis. They've sold out all these games at home. That streak sort of continues. It's a great environment. They were just a game away from playing in the MLS Cup themselves last year. They're thinking out here St. Louis and club. I do think, maybe a lot of people around the league, maybe just because there's not a lot of recognizable names on St. Louis's team. This was the first game. They're playing away. Maybe they just figured it out. They're just maybe kind of going to come in and lay down. Austin, I believe that former Dynamo Tim Parker scoring the first goal off a corner. Speaking of getting more of the corners in Houston last year, but they did kind of recover. They were getting into it. Drusy scored what, if maybe Almada doesn't have if Almada doesn't go off in Atlanta, that would have probably been the goal of the week.
Yeah.
They were off and rolling, but I think, in a couple of things too, right? Cascante goes off in the first minute. So that's an injury that impacted the back line for Austin. That's where Kip Keller sort of comes in. He didn't get to play a lot of minutes last year, a bit inexperienced. Chelsea Sardis debuted, maybe, still some communication issues there with a new signing where, maybe a Maxi Urruti who was with the team last year and has a little bit more better understanding. Alex Ring, the former captain of this team. Now that Drusy has the captain's armband. Alex Ring didn't start this game. Owen Wolf got the start. So, maybe Josh Wolf thought a game to experiment, or just maybe he had a lot of confidence in Wolves. So I think all these things, Austin, I think kind of was a little bit off the path from what they did last year too much, and give credit to St. Louis. They took advantage, and the traveling fans got to see the first win in club history.
Yeah, it was incredible experience for the fans who managed to get tickets. I think there were quite a few people who probably wanted to be there that couldn't, and like the traveling fans, that is. But for Austin, I guess there's a little bit of concern there, like to not be able to dominate a game at home must be, especially against a new side who are learning to play with each other, must be a concern.
And they have a congested schedule here coming up with the CONCACAF Champions League, so that's going to be something that throws a bit of a wrench. They thought they had maybe the backline situation fixed. Now Cascante's out, won't need surgery, but he's out for I think about 8 weeks. Right. But these games coming up in the Champions League, this might be a good, especially because they got a Caribbean team that they should be well favored over. Maybe these are some good games for Kip Keller to sort of get his confidence back a little bit. I think they have Montreal coming in this week, so could be another good game. We saw Montreal in week 1. That could be another good game for Austin to sort of get back on the winning side and start to turn this thing around. And in St. Louis, it goes home, and they're opening at home, if I'm not mistaken. So that'll be a celebratory situation for them with already 3 points under their belt, and yeah, I mean, so I think both of these teams, I sort of had them on, maybe not St. Louis, because obviously I thought they would have some expansion troubles, but I did think Austin was going to have a much better season, and I think this might actually be a good wake-up call, actually.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah, like no one knew what to expect from St. Louis going in. I sort of looked at that. Obviously, Klaus, who's starting as a DP striker, is not known for his goals for quite a while now. I look back and looking for double-digit seasons, and it was way back when he was playing in Finland. So I wasn't sure what to expect from him, but he managed to get this goal, which will boost confidence. And they seem like they could be quite an exciting team to watch. And let's go back across to the Eastern Conference, and let's just quickly touch on Philadelphia Union. A wake-up call, Alex, for them in the first half. Columbus Crew taking the lead, but they got back on track. A Gazdag penalty, level it up, and then a 4-1 win. And I think they just came out of that game proving that they are what we expect them to be, one of the favorites on all fronts that they're competing on.
Yeah, and I will say, I think I saw some controversy about the penalties, like 2 of them. Maybe it shouldn't have stood, but yeah, your point stands. Philly are the team in the East, and Inter Miami played them this weekend, so good luck to them. But yeah, I was super impressed by them. Curtin's always a outspoken coach, and I respect him a lot. And he's got a lot of good quotes going on. They just have a really good cohesive team, and they play this like helter-skelter type of football where they're always trying to get in behind. They're always just running and physically fit, and a similar system, a 4-3-1-2 with Gazdag as a 10, Michael Ure and Julian Carranza. That front line is so dangerous, and they have each of them can score 10 plus goals. So yeah, they are the team to beat in the East. And as far as Columbus goes, they played well until Philly just came back and hit them, sort of like Rocky. Yeah. I don't know the boxing references. Yeah, but I don't know. Columbus, they played well, but and Zelarayan, he was everywhere, and Hernandez, but they just they got punched in the mouth, and Wilfred Nancy has to go back to the drawing board and see what they can do if they stick with that back 3 that they were playing against Philly, or maybe they revert back to a flat back 4. So 2 Eastern Conference teams that have high expectations, but Philly ended up being the top team out of the 2 of them.
Okay, Victor, let's go back across to one of the striker.com sides, Atlanta United. And I mean, last year they were a soap opera or telenovela for most of the year, and they end the game in the same way. How relying on Thiago Almada, incredible.
Yeah, and the post Joseph era, right? Important year, I think, for Gonzalo Pineda as a head coach. And they were down 1-0 heading into stoppage time. This could have been a disaster result. a big attendance in Atlanta, over 60,000 people, and Almada obviously coming off winning the World Cup with Argentina, just smashes one from distance. You know, sends everybody into euphoria, right, with that free kick.
Yeah.
Both amazing goals, both up for goal of the week. I think undisputed, player of the week. That's why he got the award. I think it's hard for anybody else to match what he did, and that's kind of the story there. Obviously, on our side, Sam Jones goes a little bit deeper for those who want to maybe get his thoughts. But for me, that's a takeaway. Pineda got saved. I think that was a big result.
Yeah, they'll be an exciting team. They've still got their sort of defensive frailties, and San Jose looked like a decent side for lots of it. Just couldn't hold out on that result. But some positives in their new sort of year under Luchi Gonzalez. So have to see what the Quakes can do, especially when they go back to California and get to play in front of the home crowd. One side who missed out, our Champions League winners last year, who missed out on the playoffs, Seattle, Alex, straight back with a bang and back to their old selves.
Yeah, and I think, I was watching that game and I was extraordinarily impressed about, we saw them in Champions League, and they flopped out. They flopped out, and seeing them, kind of pummel Colorado, who I thought were playing well until Seattle got that first goal, and Seattle snuffed them out and got the clean sheet too. Jordan Morris had a monster game, 2 goals. He's showing his class once again. Air Bear. I think NYCFC is going to miss him a lot. We're going to touch on them NYCFC later, but but Air Bear is just one of those strikers that have shown that he's able to score in MLS. So NYCFC getting rid of him, I don't know, but Christian Roldan as well. It was just a really well played game from Seattle. Rusnak, João Paulo being back from that ACL injury that he had he was out for the year. With Colorado, one player that for me that stood out. Well, that was Darren Yappy, 18-year-old forward. He looked dangerous. Yeah, he was dangerous. He looked good, and unfortunately, he couldn't get a goal. I think he hit the woodwork once, and
at the beginning of the game, like within sort of 90 seconds.
I was shocked. He's a very good young player, and it's unfortunate that didn't go in. It probably would have changed the complexion of the game. And another player that I was super intrigued to see was Connor Ronan. Excuse me. He was really calm, really class on the ball. Had a lot of composure, and obviously, being from England, obviously, and going up through the ranks, obviously they teach that technical side a little bit more than maybe they do over here in the States. But very calm, very collected on the ball. Enjoyed watching him, but it's a shame Colorado didn't get a goal. Diego Rubio is also out for them, so with I believe it's a knee injury, but
it's sort of saying 2 to 5 weeks or something.
Big blow for them. So but Seattle, they showed their class. Brian Schmetzer really never misses, so entertaining game.
Yeah, I think Darren Yappy was really, really exciting to see, and we'll get the chance now to continue up there. And they just look like a side, like Seattle looked like a side already in mid-season form, whereas Colorado were very much sort of working through some cobwebs and giving the ball away a few
the
times.
Scary thing for me is that Rui Diaz didn't even play.
Yeah,
exactly. They're a fantastic addition, and they're going to be back to their best again this year. They'll be competing up the top, no doubt, without the CCL campaign to go through. One of the sort of West Coast again, West Conference again. Vancouver 1, RSL 2, and Vancouver take the lead, and RSL just get straight back coming into that second half. And a great thing for Damir Kreilach, Victor, after another one who, we mentioned João Paulo there in Seattle, but Kreilach getting back and getting the winning goal for the side will be huge for this team, won't it?
Yeah, and then again mentioning the expectation might have been, hey, if they lose on the road, it's not that big a deal. Vancouver, that would have been a good start to the season. But again, going and Salt Lake wasn't the only one. There were a couple of away sides here, but to go on the road, first game of the season and get those 3 points, I think really kind of platforms you into a good starting point. Especially them. They also have next week at Seattle. I think whatever happens there, they're already on the plus side, right? Because they already have 3 points in their pocket before they have to go for their home opener. So I think, Vancouver, to me, that the worrisome thing is that they, they're kind of I don't want to call it, be straight up and call them a boring side, but I mean, you got to ask for a little more, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's the opening game of the season from your home fans. Where's the a little bit more life in this team, and just kind of getting something that gets you full 3 points, especially them. I think they had the opening goal, missed opportunity for Vancouver.
Yeah, definitely. And they seem to change up this system to try and get the best out of like Ryan Gould, and they got Pedro Vite didn't start. The Home got the chance, sort of behind Brian White. Cordova could have played against the side he just left, but it just seems like too early and for him to be up to speed. But yeah, concerning. They've got this good starting 11, I think, on paper, but there's concerning signs for Vancouver and how they're actually playing. They just need to get the best out of some of these attacking players, which they're not. And defensively, there's question marks all year last year, and they seem to be
and they got some good players, right? Gressel, Dahome, White, but it's just gotta get a result, I think.
Let's go across back to the Eastern Conference then. The Nashville rejoined the Eastern Conference and kicked off MLS this weekend. A 2-0 win over New York City FC, and to start with, they didn't even need Hani Mukhtar.
I saw I saw the starting 11, and I was like, Mukhtar's on the bench, but it turned out he had I believe like a hamstring or dealing with some slight injury. They looked really good. And Shaq Moore getting up and down that right hand side. Fafa Pico, South Florida native. So obviously rooting for him. He's in and around the South Florida area. I don't know. Nashville, they came into the league with Inter Miami, so there's a bit of a rivalry between the two teams, or I should say supporters. But I've always had a soft spot for them. Walker Zimmerman, showing his class. Jack Mayer, drafted in the 2020 draft. Anibal Godoy, and Sean Davis, that double pivot it worked really well along with Rondo Leal in a more central role, and he was able to create more rather than him playing on the wing, and Schaffelberg as well. Shout out to him. A young Canadian international. I always rated him at Toronto, but I think Bob Bradley was playing him as like a left back at one point, which was I don't know,
popped in random places.
Very bizarre.
Exciting player, just not very consistent. And I guess they've got both that, and I guess Victor, you've probably experienced that with Fafa Pico. You got the quality at times.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know if we might have touched on this, but I think I told you. They keep trying him as an inverted winger on the left in Houston. That forced him to come inside instead of, he had some good goals when playing on the right side. I don't know why they didn't just switch him. Guess where Nashville played him?
Yeah,
they played him on the right. He got the first assist of the season in MLS, and I mean, I think he just fits into what Nashville wants to do. So I think it's good news start. And the other thing too, Nashville this year returns to the Eastern Conference after being battle tested in the West. So I think they could give Philly a run for their money as far as the standings.
Yeah, it's just we're gonna have to see how they can keep going without that sort of DP centre forward, which I guess they would have liked if they could have moved Ake Lova off the books, but unfortunately he's still technically on there while doing quite well back in Liga MX. Compared to his Nashville form anyway. We've got 4 1-0 games to finish off. And let's start with Dallas. A really disappointing defeat, Victor, I think, against Minnesota, missing Manuel Reynoso.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's the big one because big credit to Minnesota. They've had that drama kind of hovering over them with Reynoso not being in preseason. They go to Dallas where they, I just remember too, this was the matchup in the playoffs where Minnesota got eliminated on penalties. And they come in, they get a goal, they defend it, and they pull away. And Dallas, again, an opportunity here, second season under Nico Tevez, really kind of pushed up right in the Western Conference, especially the way they ended the season in that playoff match against Austin. Jesus Ferreira coming back from the World Cup, Paul Arriola trying to redeem himself maybe for not going to the World Cup, and I think for Dallas it has to be pointed. Maybe also, again, a good wake-up call early in the season. You'd rather have these now than maybe in the summer and, once you're kind of making a run. But I think missed opportunity. They got the Galaxy, if I'm not mistaken, this following week, no Chicharito. So that may be an opportunity for Dallas to get better in Minnesota as well. Yeah, I'll mention this. Another former Dynamo at Minnesota. Derek Valentin not getting minutes in Houston. Plays right back. And, again, good on for Minnesota and Adrian Heath. And again, in the midst of all this drama with Reynoso, this was a very good result.
Yeah, definitely. And sticking in that Western Conference of the Portland and Sporting Kansas City sort of ended the weekend after their game was moved for bad weather. Similarly to the El Trafico, which the El Trafico, I keep doing that. Similarly to El Trafico, it's obviously been delayed to the 4th of July, which we weren't able to see this weekend. Sadly, it would have been a great opener for both sides. For Portland, SKC, I stupidly was saying that, oh, this is going to be a 3-3, 4-3 game. Both teams, poor defenses, really, but they've got some great attacking talent. 1-0, and a very bad goal to concede from Paul Scamp, who did some good goalkeeping while rescuing defenders from bad back passes.
Yeah.
But to let that goal in was quite disappointing. And I guess, Victor, from like a West Conference side, I think these two sides going into the season before this game kicked off would be playoff teams. They look like they've got the attacks to do it. Looking at them now, where do you see them on the sort of opening day style?
Yeah, I mean, obviously first game, I still think Kansas City, eventually they got to welcome back Pulido and get back. But I think, they got a good enough roster to try to get back into the playoffs. Portland's obviously playing at home. A little bit maybe of a rebuild under Sabarete, right? 1-0. Could have been worse, right? Kansas City had that one trip where they had like 7 goals, so maybe this is progress here.
Yeah.
But, that just kind of reminds you too. I mean, again, as more things change, these Pacific Northwest teams, Seattle, Portland, they're the constants in the Western Conference that just you can never overlook them. You can never you have to take them seriously. And I think maybe quietly Portland here again 1-0, a result that maybe doesn't catch a lot of attention, but 3 points at home, they just kind of keep that going. And I think it's one of the teams that probably make the playoffs and they're going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, I think so. Portland looking, the roster build looks quite good, and if they could bring in a new striker as well, which seems to be rumored to do, adds to the danger up there. Another 1-0 win, another one not too exciting from me watching back. Orlando versus the New York Red Bulls. And Alex, the other Florida side from just north of Miami that you cover. A 1-0 win. They've been lauded for their signings. But again, this year, watching them in this game and watching them last year, for me, they just seem like one of these teams that are just going to annoy the hell out of everyone they play and scrape through with chances. Even with like Facundo Torres, they brought in Martin Ojeda. I did really like the look of Ramiro Enrique when he came on. They looked really bright and added something to the attack, but they just seemed a bit slow and just annoying. So, like, if you're not a fan of them, they're going to really annoy you.
Yeah, I don't know Orlando. Covering them whenever they play in Miami, the fans always get into it. So I know MLS rivalries, they get a bit of a slack for maybe not being real, but like it's genuinely a rivalry between the Miami and Orlando. But watching that game, I think Orlando, like you said, it was a little, I don't know, I don't want to say boring and disrespect Oscar Pereja or anything. They have a bunch of new players and they're starting to gel, but it was slow. They won off a penalty. That game could have finished 0-0 if different circumstances happened. And I don't know. I expected more from the Red Bulls though, but I'm sure they'll get it together eventually.
I think maybe that was part of the thing. It was constantly little fouls, which were, I mean, Red Bulls want to play in transition. They want to win the ball and go. They win the ball and straight away someone like Araujo is quickly knocking them down. Stop it. Yeah, you're not getting this transitional attack. And they just didn't look as dangerous as they would have wanted to. Janssen as well could have been sent off, I thought, quite early on with this crazy tackle on Manuel on the edge of the box. But yeah, they're going to be an interesting team. They'll definitely be competing, looking at how they go. But yeah, we'll have to see how they get on. And finally, to wrap it all up, Charlotte, a 1-0 defeat to the Revs. Another one which for the neutral tuning in wasn't really going to keep you on the edge of the seats, Victor.
Yeah, no, it's kind of disappointing, right? Just because Charlotte had the highest attendance out of all the teams. They had the the good tribute with the tifo early on, for Anton Walk, but then Rebs, good result again. I have to applaud them. Good
Yeah.
result on the road for these teams that get it on opening weekend and kind of able to take that momentum of the start of the season and just I didn't expect it because I think again, not that New England doesn't have good options. Just I thought Charlotte being at home,
Yeah.
New England sort of with the year they had last year, we see what they become, but maybe it's time to start taking the Rebels more seriously again.
Yeah, I think this bringing in Dave Romney's helped at the back there. They looked a little bit more, a little bit stronger in defense. Noel Buck, a young player again, got a good 90 minutes and pretty exciting player. But they just don't look like two sides you can score. Charlotte seemed to have brought in this Kopetti, which I thought was to them partner Swiderski, but I just saw Swiderski playing further and further away from goal. And they seem to have moved him further and further back, moving away to wings. So he's not as dangerous in the final third. Maybe it's still working through. And the Revs still need a lot out of Rioni, Alex. There's both sides still a lot of work in that final third.
Yeah, and I think Charlotte, I was kind of high on them, coming into the season, Kopetti, and they signed that center back Bill Tulioma, excuse me. I don't know if I got his last name correct from from Portland.
From over in Portland,
Yeah, which is a good signing. But the Revs came in and did what they needed to do. Carlos Hill always showing his class, Polster, and even Gustavo Bo, I think he's dealing with green card issues. He's coming back soon. So and Henry Kessler, Dave Romney back there. Their backline is very solid. Dewan Jones, Brendan Byde, very good. So a difficult team to play against. I think they'll be higher in the East than what people expect. Charlotte, hopefully they can get it together because they have some good pieces. But disappointing from Charlotte, but the Revs did what they needed to do.
Yeah, and that's it. That's our games. It's one hell of a weekend to start us off. I look forward to being able to watch every game once again coming up this weekend. Victor, Alex, thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully we can chat again throughout the season, keeping a track on all these games week on week.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys.